So, Shawnee, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I know you're extremely busy. First thing I want to ask you is, when did you come to Kelowna and how did you end up here?
First of all, thank you for inviting me. I'm super excited to be here. I moved here in 2005. At the time, I had been living and working in Vancouver for many years, most of my adult life at that point, and really was tired of the commute and tired of the fact that I was never going to be able to afford anything, that I could have kids that could grow up with grass under their feet. So looked around at what options were there. To be honest, it was kind of Victoria or Kelowna that were big enough and had decent weather. My partner at the time and I were avid outdoors people, loved to bike and hike and go to the beach and ski. And Kelowna won on that front, all the good activities that we have here. And don't regret it. It's been a great move for us for all those reasons. I spend way less time in my car now.
Did you know about Kelowna before you came, or was it just kind of looking on Google and on the internet, or did you come and visit? Or
Yeah, I had definitely been here before. The wine region, of course, is an attraction for me. At the time when I moved here, I was actually working for a winery. So I had visited in the context of work, but I had also been here for fun as well. Again, skier, beach creature. I really enjoy those sides of life and had come to Kelowna as, it's a short hop from Vancouver, easy to get to. So I knew about it for sure.
So tell us about your work. I know you're a consultant and a public speaker, and I've attended a couple of your workshops over at the CoLab. Tell us a little bit about your background in your career.
Well, the funny thing is I kind of fell into what I do, which is human resources consulting. Originally, I was actually going to go to university in Asian studies because I had spent a year living and studying overseas in Asia. And when I got to university, I realized very quickly I couldn't stand being in a library all the time. And so I took some career counseling and was reminded of the things I really care about, which are people, communication, and business. So I transferred into commerce and finished my degree program there. And over the course of being there, it just seemed like the courses I enjoyed the most and where there was the most opportunity for debate and learning, for me at least, was the organizational behavior, human psychology, and human resources. So I was a lucky graduate. I got a job in my field working with a professor in consulting on the coast. And then, here I am 27 years later, still doing it and still loving it. And, it's funny. Somebody told me a while back that if you're retired, the best definition of retirement is you do what you want, when you want, with whom you want. Mm-hmm. And I still kind of feel like I'm doing that. So I've been retired a lot of my career. But I started my business 10 years ago. It was... I had come up with the transfer with my company, as well as wanting to move here for the lifestyle, as I said. And they wanted me to move back. My job had very quickly transpired to be more in Vancouver than here. I had 2 little boys at the time, and I just thought I don't really want to go back to Vancouver, so I'll stay. But at the time, it was 2008, and the market crashed. Right. And of course, the hundreds of jobs that were online for HR people disappeared to zero overnight. And I always say that I'm better as a mom when I work. I'm not a stay-at-home mom. I respect it. I think it's an amazing talent for people who can. It's just not me. Right. So really, starting a consulting practice was a way to get myself working again, and also to offer me some flexibility associated with my kids. So I am the lucky mom that has been able to volunteer in my kids' school. Not all the time, but I can go. And I know lots of moms are jealous of the fact that, their 8-hour day means they don't get to see their kids. And sometimes my 10 or 12-hour day means I can, right? So, right. I've always worked in HR with entrepreneurial businesses prior to moving here, when I was working in organizations, and then since starting my consulting practice. So when I think of HR for entrepreneurial businesses, I always say it's the big 5. It's recruiting, either helping them recruit or teaching them how to recruit. Of course, you teach a man to fish. It's orientations, making sure that once they've got these great people, they're bringing them on board properly. So that's recruitment and orientation. Comp and benefits, are we paying them fairly? And are we making sure that we're paying competitively as well to attract the kind of people we want? And then it is training and development. That's part of my, building workshops, providing them, rolling them out, speaking at them, and also just speaking in general. Mm-hmm. Performance management, which is everything from goal setting and vision setting to, right to building performance reviews and helping people, help their employees do a better job. And then last but not least, but probably the biggest and the part I get the most excited about now is culture. And that can be everything from building a really good handbook relating to how we do things here to building the kinds of practices that are going to deliver the kind of business results that you want.
Just to go back to 2008, the market crashed. You decided to start a new business. Was it challenging getting clients at that time? And how did you get past that?
Well, of course it was. It was a terrible time. Truth be told, it was the best for me, though. I was starting a new business. I didn't have high expectations, right? Because the market had crashed. I just knew I needed to work. So I think, I had built a business plan and I just executed the plan. I spent a lot of time building the tools and the systems that I would need, which when you have downtime, it's a good application for the downtime. I built my website. I can tell you 5 years down the road, I would not have had time to do that. My latest edition of my website took me literally 3 years to get through, and it's basically a new shell on my old one. So, but it just takes so much longer when you're busy, right? So at the time, it was slow. It took a lot of time, but I had some great advice. I had some great mentors. I went through the Community Futures program for entrepreneurship, which I highly recommend. It was fantastic for me. And, I will say that I thought, I've got a degree. Why would I need to go through a business planning process? I 100% think it was one of the best things I did. They taught me how to do a really good business plan. And again, a lot of the people who were teachers were also mentors to me. Mm-hmm. And so the great advice that I had one of them give me is that in your first year of consulting, you're going to, assuming you treat it like a full-time, work as hard as you can on it, at least 40 hours a week, full-time job. She said to me that you would probably be able to build 20 to 30% of your hours. Wow. And in the second and third year range, she said, if you do, again, continue with that same amount of effort, execute the plan, you might get up to 50% of your hours are billable. And then when you get to that fourth and fifth year, you may get to about 70%, and that's probably about where you want to be. Because, of course, as a consultant, if you have too much time with clients, you're not building your pipeline, right? So, that proved to be true. I always joke, my average day isn't 8, right? 8 hours. It's more like 10 or 12, right? But if you put your 10 or 12 hours in the first couple of years, you have to have the buffer to be accepting that only 20% are going to be billable. Right. And that's tough for some people. And I was in a fortunate situation at the time. I had a partner who was supporting me through that. And I had some really good mentors. And I just stuck to the plan and saw that it was actually working. And when you get past your year 5 and you're starting to see that, wow, people call you back, mm-hmm. so it's not as hard of a slog to build that pipeline all the time, mm-hmm. it feels a bit more secure. But it takes a while.
Do you recall getting your first engagement, your first client?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, I still remember. In fact, my first 2 clients, my first one is still with me, and that's off and on, because I always say if you do good HR, they shouldn't need you all the time. But my second client recently exited their business, so a real success story for them, and I feel like I've kind of been with them through it. So it's happy but sad as well. So they're on to new endeavors for themselves personally, and I don't know that I'll be doing much work with them anymore, but that's kind of the nature of business, right? And the life cycle of business. So,
what percentage would you say of your business today is repeat business and referral and brand new business that you get through your marketing efforts?
Yeah, so I'll admit I'm terrible at marketing in the traditional sense. My marketing effort is primarily speaking, and then it is referral based. Any new business I get, occasionally my website turns a business in, but truth be told, I don't track it that way. Mm-hmm. Almost all my new business would be through referral. I don't know if I've ever really tracked the stats about how many new businesses I get per year versus repeat. I would say, if you said, tell me just roughly, I'd say probably 60% is repeat from prior and 40% would be new, but it could be closer to 50-50.
Well, I think it's good that whatever business we're in, we do what we're good at. So you're great at public speaking and you get a ton of referral business, so that's great. I don't think people should do traditional marketing if they're better at a different type of marketing. So it seems to be working out for you well.
I feel, I don't know. It feels, truth be told, I hope I do good work and that's going to stand for itself. That's always been my approach, because I, even sitting here today, feels a little uncomfortable talking about myself. But you do good work and hopefully people will appreciate it. They'll call you back and they'll tell their friends. And that's kind of as far as I've taken it. But I will tell you, I find this town to be extremely welcoming to entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. And there is, I think, a real culture of trying to support each other. And certainly, my clients are amazing. They are my best referral source. And, I'm just right now going through a new designation process. And, I asked a client, just thinking, hey, would you mind being my referral? And I asked a couple, and I only needed 2, and a bunch of people came back and said, yeah, we'd be happy to. And so, that kind of thing makes you feel good, right? It's like, okay, I must be doing something okay.
So I try to keep my pulse, keep the pulse of Kelowna business, and a few people, especially realtors, are telling me they're noticing a slowdown now. Some realtors are telling me they're as busy as ever. Some business owners I know are as busy as ever, and some are kind of suffering right now. What is your sense of it? Are we in a recession right now?
So I don't think we're in a recession right now, but I definitely think that we could be in the not too distant future. I know I've heard the same kind of stuff from realtors and people in that type of industry who are seeing, with the speculation tax and some of the other stuff that's happening, a slowdown on their front. That doesn't necessarily translate always across, but of course it affects our construction and whatnot. What I see in my business is it's a candidate market right now, which means that employers are finding it tough to find good employees to work for them. The pool is decreasing because most, if not all, but let's say most, good employees are already employed, right? Mm-hmm. And we don't have enough people moving to the area fast enough, potentially because of the speculation tax and potentially because of other things going on in other parts of the world which are booming, which is when people don't really move. So yeah, there's less employees available. So I find employers maybe that they are struggling with meeting the needs or the potential growth opportunities that they hope to, just because there's so few people available to do the work. I do see in some areas, a lot of my clients are busier than ever. That's a good sign in some ways. It's a bad sign for me though, because then they don't have time to hire consultants, right? Mind you, the good sign is they have money to hire consultants. so you kind of have to catch them in the lulls of their rhythm of their business. Right. Personally, I think that we should still be saving for a rainy day, because I suspect it's cyclical here, and yes. I've seen a few of them in the 10 years I've been in business.
What is your typical client size? So is it large businesses or solopreneurs or everything in between?
Luke Mankus is a realtor with RE/MAX Kelowna. He loves what he does. We asked Luke if he had any regrets about moving here in 2011. And he always says, yeah, one regret. And that is, he didn't move here sooner. When Luke came here, he didn't know anyone. He didn't know the neighborhoods or anything or anyone besides his daughter, who was 6 years old at the time. So he knows what it's like. Now, he's an expert and has helped well over 100 single people, couples, families, and investors with their real estate needs in the Okanagan. If you're new to our beautiful city, Luke can help you get connected with great lawyers, dentists, carpenters, landscapers, swimming pool installers, you name it. And whether you're new to Kelowna or not, Luke knows real estate. He can help you find a great property, negotiate a good deal, and hold your hand all the way through the process until the day you get your shiny new set of keys. Luke is known as a no-pressure kind of guy. He's had clients where it took even a year or more to get them into a property. He just doesn't believe in rushing things. On the other hand, when you decide it's time to act, he's diligent, and he'll work day and night until the job is done. Give Luke Mankus a call or a text message at any time. 778-215-4273. Again, that's 778-215-4273. 778-215-4273. To chat with Luke about real estate.
Good question. Generally, I say I focus on businesses that don't have in-house HR. That's not always exactly correct, because sometimes businesses with HR will hire me as an objective third party or just as overflow. But for the most part, entrepreneurial businesses doesn't have to be for profit, because I do have a number of not-for-profit social enterprises as well that I would consider clients that call me when they need me for various things. But it tends to be, again, 100, if you say 100% of my businesses, probably 30% are not for profit and kind of in that sort of genre, and then the rest would be for profit businesses. Most, I would say, start needing HR. I think everybody needs HR, of course, but most start needing HR after they hit about 7 to 10 people. I usually, the initial call, the very first time I've ever heard from a client, it's usually one of two reasons. It's either they've got to the point where they desperately need an employee handbook. Owners getting overwhelmed with the same questions, doesn't know the right answers. Somebody told them they're doing something wrong and they don't know what they don't know about it. So I do a lot of those. I've actually, in the last 10 years, I counted, I think I've done 45 handbooks, which is a lot, actually, when you think about it. I've written...
So that's an HR handbook.
Yeah, so it's employment practices, though. How do we handle vacation here? How do we handle our recruitment process? What do we do if somebody needs to go on leave or just wants to request a day off? What's our sick policy? All of that kind of stuff, as well as, what's our expenses and how do we use the cars and, really the full gamut of how we operate policy practice-wise. We try and write those for them. I call it the travel guide to the company, though. It's not just a boring old manual.
Right.
And then the other side of when we get the first call is often, oh my gosh, this just happened and I don't know what to do. And that ranges from, I've had harassment investigations, disputes, personality conflicts, to, an employee stopped showing up for work and we don't know why. Can I fire them? Should I worry about them? To, I had one call, we've got employees here who told us we've been doing something wrong and they're going to, file a complaint and we don't know the right thing. So big, wide range, really. Anything people. Yeah.
You mentioned that you're taking a new designation. Tell us about that, and tell us, has your philosophy in teaching evolved much over the last 10 years?
So the designation, because that's the quick, easy answer, is Certified Management Consultant, and it is something I've been looking into for a long time and kind of needed to get all of my ducks in order. So I am working on that. It's, as you'd have guessed, it's a management consultant certification. I do think there's a possibility that's where the market's going to eventually require consultants. Certainly, I think consultants should have designations of some kind. I have, of course, my CPHR as well, which is the HR designation. But this is just a broader one for all consultants. So I'm working on that. As it relates to speaking and teaching, of course it has to evolve. I think learners have evolved, candidly. I don't know that I'm at the forefront of technology, but I do try and, make sure that my sessions are interesting to the audiences, and that requires a lot more work than people think, because you do have to really understand your audience and the venue that you're at, and also have a really good sense of the content. And candidly, that's probably where I've always relied on with my speaking is I talk about topics I know a lot about.
Right.
And so not only do I have a slide deck prepared of the basics that people need to know, but I'm really open to asking answering questions. And I really encourage the participation from the audience. I find that the audience enjoys that. And so, what I think over the last 10 years, I've probably offered less content and more opportunity to talk and more opportunity to discuss and engage and answer questions and really get into the meat of stuff.
So I'm guessing you read a lot to stay current with what's happening in business and HR. Yes. And could you tell us a couple of books that you're reading right now or have recently?
Yeah, sure. So I'm actually reading right now a book I'm fascinated with. It's called The Captain Class, and I'm terrible at remembering the name of authors. I'm sorry, but you can Google it. But it's a piece, really, it's extensively researched, and it's about the value and importance of captains of teams and how the best captains don't have the qualities that traditionally we think of leaders. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to leave it at that teaser. I'm fascinated by it. There's definitely, not what you would think when you're hiring for a leadership role. I wouldn't look for these qualities, candidly, and yet it pays off in so many areas, and he's demonstrated these consistent 7 qualities. So really worth reading. And then the other one I just recently finished is, I think it's either First Your Oxygen Mask or Your Oxygen Mask First. It's written by Kevin Lawrence. And it was a session I attended, a really excellent session I attended in Vancouver, I guess a few months ago now. And he's a consultant that presents on scaling up, which is a way to fast scale your business. And the reason I went to the session is because a lot of my businesses, they come to me because they are bumping into growth or they've either grown fast and now they're trying to get stabilized and get their systems caught up, or they want to grow. Of course, right? We want to help them grow. So I wanted, this scaling up is a really good methodology for growth of business, and I wanted to learn more about it and see if it could be something I could refer my clients to. As it turned out, I got a lot out of it, and I got this book. And the book is more about personal development for leaders and owners. And, there's a lot of great content and very practical. And I'm actually working my way through that book right now, trying to improve my own practices.
So is there a public event coming up that you're going to speak at that you want to tell us about?
No, there's nothing. It's summer in the Okanagan. Yeah. I'm trying not to book anything. I tell a lie. I'm in Vancouver speaking in October for the Geoscientists and Engineers Conference, which will be great. I'm talking about HR topics, of course. But I don't really have anything happening in the area right now, actually. It's all quiet on the Western Front here.
So 10 years now in Kelowna. Tell us what you were surprised by, and tell us what you love about the city.
Yeah. So I was surprised by the weather. I have to admit, I had no idea. As much as I lived in Vancouver a long time, I grew up in Terrace, northern BC. Right. So clear and cold in the winter and pretty warm and hot and sunny in the summer, right? 4 seasons, though. Vancouver, one of the other things I didn't like, other than the commute and the fact I couldn't afford a house, was the gloom in the winter, like just endless gloom. And I've noticed in Kelowna, it's pretty gloomy in the winter, and I was not prepared for that at all. And that is, another big reason why I actually snowboard, don't ski. But that's why I go up to the mountain, is to get outside and active and above the clouds if you can. So that surprised me. What I love about Kelowna is really, it's still why I moved here. I love the fact that I can go literally 5 minutes to the beach. I love that I can go hiking. I live on the west side, which gives me closer access to the hiking trails that are, really near my home. I run in the trails with my dog all the time. Awesome. And I just love that access. I think it's a great place to raise a family. My kids have enjoyed a lot of the benefits, big enough that they get some of the big town amenities, small enough that you don't get the big town problems, I would say. So it's been great for us.
So, Shawnee, I want to put you on the spot now. Can you name one person off the top of your head that you know in the city of Kelowna that you find to be a fascinating person and who you would love to see come on this show in the future?
I would say Shane Austin. Oh, yeah. I'm excited about Shane from CoLab. I love what he's doing. I'm proud to be a member of CoLab and support it, and been interested in the evolution. I think he'd be an interesting person for you.
So, Shawnee, if someone wants to learn more about your consulting services, do you have a website or any kind of social media that people can follow you?
Yes. I don't do a great job of my website, as I confessed. It took me like 3 years to get the updated version, but it's there now, and we're proud of it. It's at lovehr.ca. And then, of course, I am on Twitter at LoveHR Tweeter, and I'm on LinkedIn as well. And I am someone who blogs regularly, at least once a week. And so there's tons of content on my website for people who are interested in the topics of HR and the philosophy that I approach things with. Lots of free advice.
Thank you so much for your time today. Yeah. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, well, I appreciate being here. This is a great idea, and it's pretty cool that you're doing this. I think it's a lot of fun. It's exciting to see people, the various things that are happening in Kelowna. It's great.